Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, January 19th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect occasional rain and a high of about 70 degrees in San Antonio today. You can expect cooler temperatures and more rain on Wednesday. We begin today's briefing in our nation's capital, where the U.S. Capitol complex temporarily locked down on Monday during a rehearsal for President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration after a fire in a homeless encampment roughly a mile away caused security concerns. Meanwhile, the Justice Department has charged suspected members of militia groups as it works to determine whether the extremist groups conspired to attack Congress. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. Dotted throughout San Antonio's urban core are little historic structures called shotgun houses that provide affordable, energy-efficient shelter. They're part of the city's heritage, typically tethered to working-class families through deep personal connections. Now, a $250,000 pilot program will explore ways to best rehabilitate and maintain hundreds of these houses as part of a solution to the 21st century pandemic-era economic recovery. Besides being considered cultural heritage assets, shotgun houses are existing affordable housing stock that is in greater demand and harder to find. They usually cover less than 1,000 square feet and offer fewer than 400 square feet. Scott Huddleston has more in his latest article over at expressnews.com. In years past, the San Antonio Martin Luther King Jr. March has been recognized as one of the largest in the country. More than 100,000 people have attended each of the past marches. This year, citing safety concerns because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the city's MLK Commission asked residents to stay away this year from the traditional route and instead celebrate it through a virtual event. But it wasn't an option for a small number of faithful marchers. Head over to our website to read Vincent T. David's latest report from Monday's impromptu event. From the Rio Grande to the Red River, deaths are rising. And just as before, they disproportionately claim Texans of color, especially Latinos. At the Ortiz Mortuary on San Antonio's west side, the virus has caused business in January to double like it did in July. Caskets are back-ordered. For a second time, a surge in COVID-19 cases has pushed Texas hospitals beyond their base capacity, thwarted the state's plan to reopen businesses, and spurred a wave of deaths that health experts say was avoidable. Instead of effectively mitigating a virus that has already killed more than 30,000, Texas is enduring one of its darkest chapters of the COVID-19 pandemic as state officials scramble to vaccinate 29 million residents. Zach Despart and Jasper Scherer take a closer look at how it happened. Suicide? A death of despair leaves a San Antonio family in grief and surrounded by questions. Christian Bove and his family may be through the worst of it, the biggest first now behind them. They got through Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Families suffering the pain of grief prepare for these milestones of loss when those missing take up the biggest spaces. New Year's Eve was harder, so they didn't attempt it, deciding to sleep through the last moments of the most difficult year in their lives. It was the year of the coronavirus, a divisive presidential election, and racial reckoning. But for them, it will always be the year they lost Hector. Hector Bove was Christian's only sibling. Just the two of them, always. Hector was also a beloved son, friend, brother-in-law, and uncle. He was 42, and he committed suicide. Read Elena Ayala's latest column to read more. San Antonio is in one of the most flood-prone regions in North America. A network of dams, drainage channels, and river tunnels hold floodwater in check most of the time. Check out our interactive map over at expressnews.com to enter your address and see the 30-year risk. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside of your Express News subscription. The number of Bexar County residents hospitalized with COVID-19 reached a staggering high on Monday as a wave of new cases pushed hospital systems to the brink. Area hospitals are caring for 1,520 patients with COVID-19, 253 more than the record set this summer. The FBI raided the Stone Oak area home of a San Antonio man allegedly involved in the deadly U.S. Capitol riots. 37-year-old Matthew Carl Mozaco is scheduled to appear in court this morning. A Northside church with a predominantly Hispanic congregation was targeted by vandals over the weekend, according to its spiritual leader on Monday. If you were in San Antonio on New Year's Eve, it's almost certain you heard or saw the barrage of loud fireworks that lit up the skyline, scaring people and pets and triggering those with PTSD. The displays garnered only a handful of complaints and citations, though. 2 people were killed in separate car accidents over the holiday weekend, according to the San Antonio Police Department. As struggling retailers shuttered stores and filed for bankruptcy amid the coronavirus pandemic, they left behind cavernous spaces at malls in San Antonio. But while occupancy fell, several factors are helping keep shopping centers nearly full. Read the latest Skyline column for more details. Bexar County Commissioner Tommy Calvert tested positive for COVID-19 on Friday, 3 days after county commissioners met in person for their weekly meeting. 3 separate incidents landed Bexar County deputies in hot water last year for failing to properly conduct their duties, recently released records show. 2 of the employees were suspended and 1 was fired. High delivery fees by third-party apps such as DoorDash and Uber Eats are often cited by restaurant operators as a source of financial strain. A new bill filed in the 87th Texas legislature is seeking to cap the fees food delivery services charge restaurants at 15%. More than 350,000 unemployed Texans have received the $300 in supplemental benefits recently approved by Congress, but thousands of others will have to wait. We explain why over at expressnews.com. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's decision to raise the vote threshold to block bills in the Senate is as problematic and short-sighted as it is unsurprising, writes the Express News editorial board. Check out their latest editorial over at our website. Spurs coach Greg Popovich said he believes if Martin Luther King Jr. were alive today, it would have saddened him to see the Capitol stormed by white supremacists getting a free pass as they exhibit their white privilege while brandishing Confederate battle flags. Brandy Gaskins has had an unusual hobby since she was 8, collecting pressed pennies from around the world. Gaskins has more than 1,300 pennies from 6 countries in her collection. Her collection of books filled with the flat discs, organized by state and city, occupy a special place on a shelf in her office. Called penny passports, the books are similar to a coin album with each elongated coin secured behind a clear plastic strip. Gaskins has 47 books filled with coins from travel trips and Disney theme parks. Read more about her adventures over at expressnews.com. Your bathroom should be an efficient, well-lighted place where you can prepare to meet the day and a restful retreat to unwind come evening. Check out the latest trends in bathroom design over at expressnews.com. All 4 of the Spurs' 30-somethings scored at least 20 points in a win over Portland, a first in team history. Reagan's Jernigan was named Express News Player of the Week. The Rattlers also claimed the top spot in our girls' soccer rankings. On the boys' side, the top player was Marshall's Efren Duarte. Check out the latest top 10 rankings over at expressnews.com. Steele moved to number 1 in our Express News girls' basketball rankings. Freshman guard Kalisa Xavier from Lido won Player of the Week. John Paul II's Desmond Dudley's earned Player of the Week recognition in our boys' roundup, where the top 5 teams are still unchanged. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Tuesday, January 19th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.